Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Nikki Check with Kelowna Now, and I am super excited to have the opportunity to interview Alison Kirkland, CEO of Women's Enterprise Organizations of Canada, or WEOC. Thank you so much, Alison. For those of you that aren't familiar with Alison, she is a very impressive individual, and I'd like to just take a second to highlight a few things. She is certainly a real leader in the women's entrepreneurial ecosystem in the country. She's the CEO of WEOC and has been holding that spot since 2019, and I can't imagine some of the hurdles and obstacles that the organization faced in 2019. Long-time advocate for increased access for capital for women entrepreneurs. 20 plus years in communication management and a decade as a certified small business counselor. She is a respected member of the business community as a whole in our country, recently sat on the province of Manitoba's Economic Competitive Committee, and is currently part of Canada 51 Venture Capital Initiative, and is the current chair of the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce. Alison oversees $30 million dollars in the WEOC National Loan Program, which was announced by our federal government in 2022. And these funds are managed by national loan fund partners in particular regions. And as it pertains to the province of British Columbia, the loan partner would be WeBC for the National Loan Program. Impressive CV, Alison. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
So, if I may back up a little bit, what attracted you to, or what made you decide that you wanted to join the Women's Enterprise Center?
So that role sort of led into my current role. So the Women's Enterprise Center of Manitoba is a hands-on organization that works with women entrepreneurs, similar organization to WeBC. And I had the opportunity just to really be inspired by the women entrepreneurs who came in and were starting and growing businesses. And so then when a national opportunity became available in 2019, it just seemed like the right time and the next step for my career. So it was an opportunity to take a step back and do something on a broader scale. So I'd thought about changing careers over time or changing roles or organizations, but I was always so passionate about women entrepreneurs. I couldn't imagine working in any other ecosystem. So it was just very fortunate timing for me.
Wonderful. I wondered how we connected the dots from Manitoba to national. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense to me. So, how has your role contributed to the organization's strategic evolution? We come in to an organization at a different level, and you came in quite intimate and knowing, but were you able to make, or did you want to make significant changes to the organization?
Well, that's a really interesting question because the organization was run on a volunteer basis for about 10 years, and it was off the sides of the desks of the CEOs of WeBC, Women's Enterprise Center of Manitoba, others across the country. And then through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy from the federal government, we had funding to establish the national office. So for me, it was like a startup. It was me for about 3 months and just getting started, and then just slowly building the team. And then we had COVID, and it changed a lot. But it was an opportunity to really reflect on how we could get out there into the community and to really carve our niche into supporting the organizations that are our members, which is WeBC, Women's Enterprise Center Manitoba, etc. And so how do we support them in the work that they're doing directly with women entrepreneurs? So that was the strategic plan. Yeah.
And that makes sense why in your bio I did read inaugural CEO, meaning
Yeah.
first and beginning. So I understand. Again, congratulations. So
Thank you.
women entrepreneurs often need quite a range of support, uh, and I'm wondering, in a bit of a synopsis, what can they expect to find at WEOC for support?
So we're in a different position because we work with our members who are actually on the front lines with the entrepreneurs. So they're delivering training, advising, networking, mentorship. So they're the ones who are working directly with the entrepreneurs. We hold or we do the administration of the National Loan Fund. So we work with them to prepare the clients to apply for the loan, and then we disperse the loan and work with the client on the repayments and any sort of management of the funds to them. So it's a little bit of a different model, but the loan is actually through WEOC, but the we call them the wraparound services are delivered by our partners across Canada who are very familiar with the needs and the geographic and the economic conditions within their area, and so can best support the entrepreneurs in that way.
Which are very different from region to region. So that makes sense. So um, that leads a great segue into the actual program itself. Who can apply
Mhm.
for this program, and what is the general criteria for it?
So 19 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be majority owned by a woman, so 50% or more. Um, Canadian citizen or
Mm-hmm.
permanent resident. And it can be any business structure. So it can be a sole proprietorship, it can be a corporation, it can be a social enterprise. So it's quite broad in terms of who can apply. And it requires the entrepreneur to have a business plan and 2 years of financial projections. One of the key things that we've done research across the country, and in 2022, as it was announced that we were getting this fund and we were having the opportunity to manage this fund, we just completed a 2-year study on women's access to capital. And what we knew, but this really validated what we already knew deep down, was that women continue to have challenges accessing capital. They may not have great credit scores. They may have been out of the workforce for a while. They may not have any security. There's just a whole range of reasons why it's difficult for women to access capital. They may be in a business that doesn't have, it might be a service-based business, for example, that doesn't have a building or equipment that could be used to support a loan. So we wanted to make this loan as barrier-free as possible, meaning that we didn't eliminate anyone based on their credit score. What is the reason behind that poor, lower credit score? We don't have to have security on our loans. So really trying
Mm.
to make this as approachable as possible for women entrepreneurs, and really looking at it on a case by case basis. So it's more work, I would say, for us, because you can't just plug things into a database and come out with an answer. We do spend our partners across the country spend a lot of time working with the entrepreneurs and preparing them, and then we spend a lot of time looking at their application, and hopefully supporting them in the start and growth of a successful business.
Alison, I'd like to spend a couple minutes more on that because I think it's really critical and I think it's so important for our listeners to hear. Because of in my previous employment, I was at a financial institution. And so I do know how intimidating
Mhm.
it can be to seek financing or credit? And would it be fair to say what you've just stated in addressing some of the maybe credit score deficiencies or lack of security and not needing security? That's huge. That is significant because those are huge barriers to anyone seeking funding or seeking credit. So, Alison, would it be fair? Uh, I'm I hope I can say this. Would it be fair that the WEOC really wants each of these individual regional lending partners to field as many queries or inquiries about the possibility of being funded in our woman run business, no matter startup, uh, long time business operator?
Absolutely,
Take as many
absolutely.
calls as we can give you guys.
They can call us, and we will direct them to a partner. I think yes, absolutely. And the goal, I mean, our loans are a maximum of $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a minimum amount, so it's not like you have to borrow a certain amount for us. So it's really meeting the entrepreneur where she's at. What does she need right now? And so how can we support that? So yes, absolutely, we want to encourage people to be aware of it and to access it. The goal really is, when this whole idea came into fruition, was that some people just can't access capital, and so can we help to fill a gap? And this sort of, helps them establish their credit score or their some security, or shows that they are running a successful business, and hopefully if they need, they can transition to a financial institution. This is a starting point for them,
A
hopefully.
springboard.
Yeah, it really is. And so I forgot to mention newcomers, for example, often don't have credit scores. And so, it's just a range of folks that we would love to help start successfully. And that's why the coaching and the advising that our partners are doing is so important. It is preparing the entrepreneur. To get going and to start and to continue to grow. And so
And
it's not
again,
just, yeah.
sorry, again, we're seeing some positive numbers coming out of census and statistics and research data. We're seeing one of the stats that I was reading was that we have in 2020, we have nearly 1 million women in Canada that are self-employed. That's
Yeah.
making, and again, that stat was 37%
Yeah.
of the self-employed population is women.
Yeah.
So one of the other stats that I was looking at, and I think I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, was the industries that are typical within the women self-employed industries, and those are retail, early childhood educators, real estate or salespeople, light duty cleaners, and hairstyles and barbers. Is there a sector of entrepreneurship that is missing that you wish more women would consider going into?
Certainly service industries are where women, and the ones you highlighted, also consultants and HR professionals, a variety are in those service industries. There are fewer women in tech, so in science, technology, engineering, math. Certainly that's an area where there are fewer women, and we would love to see it, because it's certainly a growing industry and there's lots of opportunity. So but really, a business has to be the passion of the entrepreneur, and where they're really focused, and what really holds the just makes them radiate. So while we can say it'd be great if everybody started a tech business, maybe you're not inclined that way and can't get as passionate about it as you might something else. But certainly manufacturing, although manufacturing is an interesting one, because we often think of it as something big that involves huge machinery or steel or something, really cars or vehicles or something. But when you think about it, there's lots of women in manufacturing. When you think about food production, when you think about health and beauty products, and just, all manner of things, that is manufacturing as well. So it's our loans apply to such a broad cross section of entrepreneurs, and you know and I think part of it too is seeing, when you see a woman doing something, it sort of is that, I can do it too. It's sort of, a mentorship or a role model.
But that
So
really does speak to your statement earlier of meeting these women entrepreneurs where they're at. So again, we look at the real benefit of being self-employed and the flexible hours and the ability to have that, I'm going to say it, that work-life balance to allow us to raise the children and do the things that we will typically do. And self-employment gives us that flexibility. So allowing and supporting women, especially in that startup, and guiding them through the business plan, and applying for this funding is an incredible opportunity. And I think it's so important to get the word out. There is a resource on WEOC that I kind of giggled at, and it was I loved it. The bootstrap or borrow. Love
yes,
this. So again, I think, and it might be human nature, we typically try to create our businesses and have them work within their revenue abilities. And I think, again, I think if I recall studies, women are maybe a bit more risk adverse in lending or seeking capital than male entrepreneurs. So uh, is there something that you can state about just steady as you go, redeploying those revenues as they come in versus getting capital and just kind of going big?
yeah. And so I guess coming back to your comment about being risk averse, I wouldn't say that women are risk averse. I would say that they're
Mm,
risk astute. And so they want to know the details. And so it's not that they're avoiding it, but they want the information before they make a decision. And of course, these are broad
sure.
generalizations, but want more details before they commit to something. So they're very savvy and wise, but they just need a bit more or want a bit more information. With regards to the bootstrap and borrow, and that was the 2-year study that I mentioned earlier on, and that was the report that came out of that work. And we spoke with over 1,000 Canadian women entrepreneurs, and really just to learn about how they had experienced accessing or attempting to access capital. And it was surprising because I think 40% of them said, "Oh, they won't lend to someone like me," or uh, they felt that there was a certain bias against them from the traditional lending institutions. So whether it's actual or perceived, it's there, right? And so it's an interesting, um, uh, you know, challenge for people and for women to overcome. And some of their perceptions may be as not as accurate as maybe a financial institution's perception of women entrepreneurs. So everybody has a little bit of work to do. But when it comes to bootstrapping versus borrowing, I think it often becomes a badge of honor. Oh, I didn't borrow any money, I owe my money. But at the same time, it might mean you're missing opportunities because you don't have the capital to take advantage of something as it presents itself. You might not be growing at the same rate. So there's that about it. There's certainly, taxation benefits and other things that come with a loan that you can use as business expenses, etc. And I am certainly not an accountant and wouldn't advise anybody in this matter, but it's certainly something to think about or to talk to your accountant about. What does borrowing look like in the context of my business, and is it a good idea? Um, and so sometimes it's good just to sort of hunker down and be rolling your own revenue back into the business, sometimes it's good to borrow and take advantage of those opportunities, because then you can generate more revenue. The other thing is that women often use credit cards or personal, well, bootstrapping as personal savings, really. And that brings with it a whole host of other challenges, right? The higher interest rates,
Huge.
you're putting your future at risk because you're dipping into those long-term savings. So sometimes, it might seem like the right idea now, but in the long term, it can have, really challenging repercussions.
So
So really,
the real
yeah,
takeaway is uh, just ask, just
yeah,
reach out to the funding partners or WEOC and just ask if there's a path that would have you receive some funding for your
yeah,
business with no shame or no preconceived notion or myth that we're not good enough, that we wouldn't qualify, that we why would anybody lend to me, whatever those voices are in our head. Just make the call
yeah,
and find out if you can or cannot qualify, and no harm, no foul.
exactly,
So
exactly.
as it pertains to the loan program, how subscribed is the national loan program? Its inception was 2022. We're sitting in the first quarter of 2024. Are the funds going quickly? Is there
We
still
still have,
sufficient funds?
yes, we absolutely have funds. It takes a while to get a program like this ramped up. And so we actually dispersed our first loan in November of 2022. So it's been, I'm doing 15
Yeah, yeah.
months or something. So it's not like we've been in the market for a huge length of time, but we are certainly noticing the ramp up, which is great. But the intention of this fund is for it to be evergreen. So it is, we lend the money, it gets paid back, and we just continue to lend it out. So
Mm,
support women entrepreneurs going, forward. It's not like this is going to dry up and go away. We really want to have the longevity there to support
that's
women.
great news,
Very,
Alison. So is there a region that maybe is a better at communicating that out to its women entrepreneurs that are
yeah, I mean, we've had some really good uptake across the country, and I don't know if I know I'm speaking, and you're from speaking to you in Kelowna, where the province of Quebec got their own loan fund, so we don't lend in Quebec. So this is just for anybody who might be in Quebec. They have their own very specific fund, so we can direct them to the resource there. But apart from that, we are across the country. We would love to be in Northern Canada. We're looking to get up there so that women across the country have access to this fund. Um, so I can't say that it's one province over another. I mean, we're just ramping up, and we're spreading the word and really getting out there. And it also takes women, like just based on the conversation that we had a few moments ago, women in their own mindset understanding, okay, I can borrow, you know, so now here's an option. So it's not just getting the word out, but it's also getting the word out to the entrepreneurs and getting them to consider this as an option.
so the challenge that I put out to the listenership that will be listening to this through our live stream channels, but also as it gets published and reposted to other channels, is a real challenge to help us spread the word. I
Absolutely.
know that everyone knows women that are uh, entrepreneurs and that are running businesses in their neighborhoods, in their communities, in their regions, in their social circles. So the challenge I give to everyone listening is spread the word, tell the
Yeah.
word. Hey, do you know there might be a lending program that could
Yeah.
help you grow your business? Psst,
Yeah.
pass it on. Tell
Yeah.
two friends, tell two friends. So,
Yeah.
really encourage people to spread the word on this incredible program. And with respect to your comment in the northern communities, so often our northern communities, and again, broad stroke brush, are very underserviced in so many capacities, in so many ways. So getting funding to these regions, these northern regions, is so critically important to Canada, to our communities.
Entrepreneurs doing
Is
amazing work, and so we just want to, and not only the work that they're doing in the, and it's their contribution to the GDP. I mean,
You bet.
it's great for Canada too. So
You bet it is. And the fact that you uh, described that the application process is in fact not that onerous, and to be able to get funding that doesn't have personal guarantees or collateral needed or required against this is huge,
yeah, so
Alison.
we
Huge.
provide a personal statement of affairs along
Yep.
with their, but and their business plan and financial statements and any other
Sure.
relevant documents. Depending on the business and all of that, there might be some additional documentation to go with it. But we really wanted to make it as, um, as
Accessible.
barrier free as possible. You would know if you had looked when you looked at the bootstrap or borrow. We talked about sludge in it and things that kind of slow you down. And sometimes sludge is good because it does make
Mm-hmm.
you slow down and think about things. And am I, so not all sludge is bad, but not all sludge is good either. So making sure that you're thinking it through, planning well. You've got you know all of the I's dotted and T's crossed is super important. And then, of course, when you start a business, things change, and it's a living document, and so adjusting and adapting to those changes.
Is there a case study or a story that you can recall that makes you so proud, or is a legacy piece that you talk about through the organization or through the program?
Um, we've only been in the market for about 15 months, so we don't have a long term story that we
Impact.
sort of, yeah, that we can sort of say, okay, that's the shining star. Having been in this ecosystem for 20 years and just seeing so many women start, overcome barriers, manage their families, and often extended families, aging parents, all of those things, and still, creating success as they define success. So, so those are the stories that really resonate with me, and there's, so many come to mind. It, it's really humbling, actually.
There is a sense right now that we've faced year after year of economic turbulence, of supply shortages, of talent or no talent challenges. Um, I think the message I hope that gets out in this program and the work that WEOC does is that you don't need to also be facing the headwinds or the challenges of being insufficiently funded. So I think this is such an incredible program, Alison. I'm so excited to hear more about it. Super excited that it has that evergreen potential, that we can get the funds paid back and then we can reissue credit to others. I think that's an incredible vision, and I hope the program has the ability to do that. Is there anything else, Alison, that you would like to highlight, or a message that you want to give to women entrepreneurs in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I have so many messages for them. I mean, it really is. They're so courageous and smart and do amazing things. And there are resources out there that support them in a variety of ways. Some of it's financial, some of it's mentorship or training. So take advantage of those opportunities. In BC, I would love to do a shout out to our wonderful loan fund partners at WeBC because they work very closely with us and are doing tremendous work, and they've been in the market for so long. And we actually can co-finance a deal with them. So we have our pot of money and they have their pot of money. So there is opportunity for a woman who needs maybe a little bit more than our 50 or their 150 to take advantage of that. So there's so many opportunities. There's so many resources. Um, Talk to someone and get some guidance, and they'll help you maybe wade through some of, there's a lot of information out there. Reach out to someone, get them to help you sort of sift through it to see what is most appropriate for you and your business and your situation. So
Alison,
yeah.
thank you for all that you do in the women's entrepreneurial ecosystem. With great gratitude, I thank you so much, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you today.
No, thank you. It's been such a delight, and I am so excited about this program and about Canadian women entrepreneurs that I could talk to you all day about it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.